Welcome, welcome, welcome. No Excuses presents the Ray Lewis Show. Today, I promise you, you got AKA Sugar. I am all in today. I am in such, I think I'm just in such an incredible mood simply because I just love life. I love every second about life. And checking in, I think I love life even more because August is a big month for me. I've had a lot of birthdays. I've had a son turn 21. My daughter turned 24. My youngest daughter turned 20. I had a lot going on. And August is always just celebration, celebration, celebration. But I tell you what, every time I figure something out coming off of vacation, resetting, always resetting your mind. Like you appreciate the smaller things way better, right? And so for me, I think for everybody really, but for me, I think a time to reset gave me a different appreciation for my baby's Earth days, for their birthdays. Man, it was just absolutely special. Look, no guest this week. I want to jump in with my guy because we just want to jump into the championship mentality. We've been brainstorming the last few days and just something just hit our spirits and we just want to share it with you guys. We will not be on here long. Grab your pen, grab your paper, and let's get this down and let's become coach. Get in here. Let's talk about championship mentality. And first of all, how you doing, brother? It's always good to see you. What's up,
man? I'm like you, man. I'm trying to enjoy life in a crazy world. You know, protecting my mindset, protecting my spirit, but also not being blind to what's going on in this world. And so it's a delicate balance right there, man. But at all times, it must be a priority that we keep our minds and our spirit in a nice, good place, a peace.
Yeah, but see, that's funny because that was one of the commitments, right? Because of so much is going on in the world, right? We said we wanted to be light. We wanted to give people a different perspective going on, right? On how to channel your energies and mind. And that's why we've been talking about this. But this week, we're talking about championship mentality. The standard is set, Coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coach,
and that's big. That's big. Just a quick story. First of all, appreciate everybody doing the jumping jacks and sending in your videos. And, you know, we're going to send out some where we can work on those form and that we could do it a little bit more consistently, or your boundaries. And maybe it's a time after this conversation that you take a look at your standards and maybe it's time for you to reset them. And it's a good point. It's a good principle in this championship mentality because true leaders impose standards on themselves. You don't need no help. You don't need nothing else from the outside. You set it for yourself. When you go on vacation, you don't need nobody to tell you to pack your bike. That's going with you regardless. And that's the way that true leaders are. And so for our team that's out there today, all of us that's really trying to sharpen our championship mentality in a crazy world and get the best out of what we're born to do, you've got to take a look at your standards.
Listen to this, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach, listen to this. The quality of a leader is the standard they set for themselves. Stop right there, right? We're talking about transforming your mind, body, and spirit. But before you transform that, you must have a standard. There must be, before you build any house, there must be a foundation, right? That the only way the house is going to stay up on the right direction if it's built on the right foundation. That's your standard. One of the things that we keep going, that we're battling with, and this is what we're talking about because so much is going on in the world, is what are you lowering your standards for? Better yet, who are you lowering your standards for? See, I'm gonna tell you something. This is what you got to understand. Sometimes the issue is simply this, T. Their ceiling is your floor.
Wow.
It's that simple. It's that simple. Sometimes you got to realize that you have to man up, woman up, and say, you know what? I'm not lowering my standards because of you don't want to jump up to my standards.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And true leaders don't compromise that.
We ain't compromising that. See,
True leaders
we're not
don't
compromising that. For
like,
nothing.
If you know you got standards, right? I mean, let's go practical with this thing. And you're like, I'm gonna go out on this date with this person, and just say you're a female, and you go out on the date. Your standard or your expectation may be not to pay for your meal on the first day. But if he like, okay, what's your, you got your half, I got my half. From that point on, you have your answer.
You got to do it
because you have your standard. If you're going on a date and you're like, you know what, I want somebody full attention on my date. Then as soon as you get on the date, they pull out their phone and they looking at their phone. Now here come the food and they grab their phone and they taking a picture of the food and then they posting it on social media. You already got your standard. You already know that they violated, they crossed the line, they crossed your boundary. And from there, I'm telling you, when you stick to your standard, when your standard is set, it has saved you a lot of headaches. When it came to our workouts, whether it's being early, notice I didn't say being on time. Whether it's being early, you having your mind right, certain type of music is not going to be played. All those things are standard, some written, some not written, but they're standards that we don't go down for. So you have to look at your life and you have to say, wait a minute, what are my standards?
Yeah.
They say people treat you based on how, you treat yourself. Like, if you don't have no standards on yourself and people treating you any kind of way, it's up to you to go back and reset and take a look back at these standards that you have for yourself.
Bro, that's why the standard is so set, right? We threw out the challenges, but the standard is really 1,000 jumping jacks. Any way you want to cut it, that's the standard, because that's where you're trying to get to, right? 200 is just where your base. That's where you start from. But let me tell you where we go wrong at, because sometimes we take exercises, sometimes we take music, sometimes we take television, sometimes we take our future, our destiny. I want you to understand this. Life is about risking everything. Watch this. For a dream that no one can see but you. See, when we started to take that risk, but that dream that we believed in, that when I told now, I'm telling you, I will be the greatest to ever do this. I'm not running away from that. But I said, nobody else can see that because nobody else ain't working with us like this. They don't know what that means. But the standard was starting to be set. So everybody that came to work out with us, they used to always ask us, what y'all do? What workout y'all do? Right? That's the first thing. That's the first thing they say. And we like, man, we got 5 or 6 today. And they like, you got 5 or 6 what? We got 5 or 6 workouts. Because what we're trying to tell you at home is your bar. You want to change your life, and when you want to go into the right direction in your life, your bar is supposed to be set so high that when somebody lowers your bar, you know you're in the wrong company. Immediately.
Wow. Yes. And when you know where you're going, you automatically know what road's not going to lead you there. So now you got a foundation to set your standards. Like, okay, I'm not going back there because I know what that's like. I'm not dealing with this. I don't know what that's like. I already know what that's like. And you have to develop them. And it's simple, but it's powerful. Like, I remember growing up, my mom used to smoke cigarettes a whole lot, smoke cigarettes all night. And that was a standard I have for them. Everybody make mistakes. I'm not judging nobody, but I'm not lowering my standard to date you if you smoke cigarettes. That's just me.
Yeah.
Don't judge me for my standards. I'm not going to judge you for yours.
Yeah.
But you got to have some.
You got to have some, T.
Yeah, you got to have some. You
That's
know what, Ray? Go ahead.
No, please.
I just was going to say, you know what? The word king, we always talk about kingship. The word king means ruler. Yeah. And when you went to school, you had a ruler, plastic ruler or wooden ruler. And those rulers, man, they serve a purpose. Yeah. Ruler means standard.
Yes, sir.
And so if you got a piece of paper and there are no lines on the paper, then you just got a blank piece of paper. So if you live in your life and you don't have no standards for your life, then you just living. But when you draw a straight line with that ruler, two things happen. One, you create separation.
Immediately.
Boundary. In politics, they call it a red line. It's politics. That's what they call it there. But you create a boundary, a line in the sand. And the second thing that happens is you create a standard. What you're not going to do, what you're not going to do, what this and that. So my tip today is to everybody, I'm sure everybody think they got standards or believe they have standards. My challenge is go back and re-look at those. Maybe you have to reset them. Because sometimes the higher that God elevates you, sometimes your standards change.
Man, your standards change every day.
Yeah.
If your expectation of your standard is staying the same, you stuck in your comfort zone.
Wow.
That's simple math. That's why so many people hang around the same people, but look for different results, eat the same food, never change, listen to the same music. It ain't happening because your standard has been set. That's why every time you have to understand this, every time whatever you allow to enter your spirit, that's your standard. People, watch this. People judge people. People hang around people and they talk about the people that they hanging around. They hang around people, but they talk about the people they hanging around as if they're better than the people they hanging around. So how are you talking about somebody that you hanging around with? You don't like the way they live, but you live in the same life. I've been lowered. It's
wow.
See, it's the same analogy. Bro, listen, that's what is one of the greatest diseases we've ever seen in this country. It's compromise. Be someone else. I'm telling you, we don't do this show. We don't do this show to be popular. We do this show to give you life principles about how do you manage a life? How do you take moments and not waste moments? I'm telling you, if your standard is stuck, it's because of 90% of the time, it's because of who you're around. If your standard is compromised, you're trying to please somebody that can't even take you to the next level.
Wow. You teach people how to treat you based on the standards that you have.
Based off the standard.
Yeah.
Based off the standard. We can't go in the weight room, me and you right now, right? If I go somewhere, I did it the other day. I won't even say where it was, but I went somewhere the other day, and bro, the music was so bad and so degrading to women. I said, how can women listen to that type of music? I got up and walked out. My standard way too high. I got too much respect for my mama. I got too much respect for my daughters and my sisters, man. I got too much respect. My standard won't allow me to sit there. My standard won't allow me to eat a certain way. My standard won't allow me to watch certain things on television. My standard won't allow me to even let the wrong people who say they got something for me, everybody who say they got something for you, it really ain't for you. It's for you to turn your back and walk the other way. See, a lot of times we think people can make us rich and whatever you want to. I'm telling you, the only thing that defines who you are and your legacy is your standard. That's why the first phrase we started with is, the standard is set. If you meet you in your 50s and you meet me in my 40s, let me tell you something, brother. Me and you, years ago, we put away foolish things. And now
thank God we got out of it, man. Because there was a time that we was listening to music like that. And there was a time that we would just be in the crowd and conform and just be amongst everybody. But again, when you start to discover who you are in God, and he revealed to you who you are, and then you start loving yourself, kind of like trying to wait that he loves you. You start loving on yourself a little bit more.
Ooh.
And your standards change. Some of the things that you used to do, you can't do no more.
You can't do no more.
And some of the places you used to go, you can't go no more. And if you go there, not only will you be violating yourself, it disturbs your spirit.
It disturbs your spirit, which means your standard is lowered immediately.
Yeah. So recheck it. Reset it.
Let me tell you how to reset it. I'm gonna tell you how to notice that when your standard is lowered. Anytime you walk into any room with anyone and your spirit doesn't jump, your standard has already been set. Anytime, see, this is why we made the decisions we made. There were times that we had to make a decision on a Friday night. We would get a phone call on a Friday night and say, "Hey man, this Bob, let's hang out tonight." Right? And
y'all worked hard all week. Y'all deserved it.
Y'all worked hard all week. Y'all gotta come out. And me and you will sit in the house and we'll look at each other. And I look at you and I say, "Mom, we got to be up at 6:30 in the morning." That ain't even where we trying to go no more. We started to negotiating between a Friday night casual hangout and how important it was to get 8 hours of sleep. The standard is set. The standard is set. And the standard, watch this, because the standard is set, I always tell you, life is about little battles. Life is about winning small battles. On every day is a different little battle that you must win, and stack little wins on top of each other. And every time we kept stacking those wins and stacking those Fridays, staying in the house and stacking those times, that think about how many times we went into football games and I told you, I say, T, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue how prepared I am because of the small things. The small things, T.
That's one thing for sure. I got to tell you about you, boy. You're not going to compromise your standards. You're not going to come down. It'll be the end of every offseason, and the minimum goal would be Defensive Player of the Year. But that's what most people would think. But people don't know that your goal was league MVP. And they used to be like, "Well, Ray, you know they get at the quarterbacks, man. That's a quarterback." That still did not stop you from saying, "I want to be league MVP. I just don't want to be defensive MVP." And that was your goal. That's what you stretched. And man, just reaching for that got you a statue. And so, you know, when you got those standards, man, what I'm saying to our team is self. And discuss yourself with yourself and say, you know what? Are the standards I have for myself too low?
Ooh.
Because I'm attracting what I'm sending out.
I'm attracting what I'm sending out. I'm about to walk up out there. I'm about to leave my own show.
Hey, man, in order to be a champion and have this type of mentality, you got to
pay the price.
That's a principle like, yo, I got standards. And again, those standards treat people how to treat you. I never forget when they said Michael Jackson had a show in Washington, D.C., and all the personal assistants couldn't understand. He had to have his water at a certain temperature. Not just no water, but it had to be measured with a thermometer, like, what's the temperature of this water? That was his standard, though. You know what I'm saying? Just give me a bottle of water. You know what I mean? But I'm saying his standard was, I need to know what the temperature is on my water before I drink it, bro. And so with your standards, they may not meet the criteria of somebody else. You know, it's between you and you. It's all going to depend on how you see yourself. And however you see yourself, you're going to set those standards and teach people on how to treat you. People that know me, if somebody calling me at 10:30 at night, I'm thinking it's a problem. Did somebody die in my family? If you know me, you know not to even call me late.
The standard set.
That standard is set. You know I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so it's just those type of things that you need being a champion in this crazy world as we revisit your standards and your boundaries. What lines you won't cross. What are some lines that I cross, but you know what? I learned through wisdom that it ain't wise on that side. So let me put this there. You know, you could go to some fancy restaurants, man, and I'm going to tell you, no matter how much money you got, no matter who you know, they say this is a dress code. And if you don't have on the shoes and the coat, they're not going to change the standard of the restaurant. You can't get in.
Standard. You can't get in.
And that's the way we should be with our lives.
That's the way we should always be with our lives. Coach, let me tell you something. This topic will never go nowhere because we're going to challenge every one of us because we're all in this together. And we're going to challenge you to ask yourself, seriously, I want you to write this down. How many spirit is compromised? How many times in a day do you think your standard is lowered? Like this, I want you to write down how many times you're not you, or you're in a battle, or you're reading something, or you're tweeting something, or you're going through all of these emotionals. I'm up, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm glad, I'm confused, I'm disappointed, all of these emotions. And then you get back to the reality of who you are, and you say, it really ain't nobody else's fault. That's what today's about. It's nobody else's fault. You want to if you want to live a better life, if you want to, I promise you, if you try this for 7 days, your life will forever change. Stop gossiping and start praying. Stop watching the news and start watching things that lighten your spirit. Let nothing enter your mind that confuses where you're trying to go, and watch what you replace it with. Replace it with something you never did, something that you've been saying for years. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to complete this. I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to find a way out. I'm going to find a way out the hood. Replace it with something that you keep promising yourself to do, but your comfort zone has kept you stuck in it. Because I'm telling you, we want to end the show with this. No matter what you're going through, each one of us has to draw a line in the sand. And it's simply one quote I want you to put on your phone, screensaver, computer, whatever you need to put it on your refrigerator. The standard is set. And we're not going backwards. From this day forward, you can be caught up in this news, and our world is so much going on. So you got to do your part. You too busy to be in everybody else's business. The standard is set. The next 7 days, before we get back together, write us. And what are you letting go of so you can make sure your standard? That's why an eagle flies the way an eagle flies. Because if an eagle see another bird at that altitude, he knows one thing. It ain't a pigeon. It only could be another eagle. Pigeons don't flock that high. So if you down there, you messing with pigeons or messing with somebody, that means you flying too low. When the standard is set, you accomplish things that you now 20 years later, me and this brother got confirmations from each other about, because we set a standard for each other and held each other accountable. The legacy lasts forever. Yeah.
See,
Coach.
I mean, well said, bro. And I mean, we live by to it. We live like that to this day, man. Yeah. And again, for our team, man, be strong out there. And here's the good news, man. It's not really good news, but there's so much going on around the world. The only thing you can do is pray.
That's it.
And that's the most powerful thing you could do.
That's the most powerful thing you could do.
So say your prayer. Hope that God heal our land. Hope that God heal this world. But man, get back on your path. Because at the end of the day, you got an assignment to do.
Yes, sir.
And while you're on this assignment, you need standards.
You need standards.
So go back, revisit them, adjust them, readjust them, and roll from there. Let's go to work, man.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. Coach, I love you, man.
Love for life, champ.
Jumping in. Love for life, boy. You be good. We'll talk soon. Like in 5 minutes. Rounding up, right? If you got on an airplane and the person that was standing in line with you had on an outfit that was not a pilot outfit, and he walked in and you walked and sat in your seat, and that person walked up to the cockpit. One reason why you will think that's odd is because everybody that passed a certain test has a certain standard to put on a certain outfit before they can enter. We have to realize the outfits you're putting on don't match your standard. You're covering up your standard with all of the outfits because the standards is who you are in your heart. You are willing to stand for. Because if you don't stand for something right now in these trying times, you will fall for anything. I'm going to give you these last few takeaways because I want you guys to meditate on this week. What dream have you let go? I need you to raise your standard to match your vision. If you got a vision to change your life, change your relationship, change your financial situation, change your physical, your spiritual, whatever you need to change, the time is now. Don't just log into shows and listening to music and think everything's cool. Because I'm going to tell you something we're missing. We're letting moments go. And one thing about a moment, you can never get it back. But when you're in your purpose, understand who's flying the plane. Understand what outfit you're putting on. And understand what standard you've already set. The standard is set. Make up in your mind, we ain't going backwards. I say we. Because we all in this together. We're not going backwards. Stand for what you know is right. Live it. And when you live by God's law, he says that when people see you, just see a glimpse of me.